We are live.
We're live. It is 1:50 p.m. on Friday, August the 7th, 2020. That was the week, and it was the week, as too often, of Donald Trump, but of Tick-Tock and the whole China question, Keith. It's dominated the week not only of domestic and international politics, but also of tech. What's happening with Tick-Tock?
Well, probably everyone listening to this knows broadly what's happening. The most recent news, and it's changing every day, is that Microsoft have a deadline to acquire Tick-Tock, or some other company, by the way. And a few days after that, Donald Trump plans to ban them, which will be interesting. I don't know how he's going to stop my 13-year-old using it, but we'll see. Maybe there'll be a knock on the door with the Tick-Tock brigade. But
your boys are badly behaved generally. I mean, very, very briefly, Keith, for non-insiders like myself, what is Tick-Tock? What's the big deal about it?
Well, this is the weird thing. TikTok's a consumer app, not unlike Instagram, but with some very specific features. It makes it really easy for people to take videos of them performing, speaking, whatever. And they're short videos. They're typically either funny or they're entertaining, and some of them are educational. And it's so good at doing that, and so good at delivering the stream to a viewer who can, a bit like Match.com, you can flick to the next one if you don't like it. It's truly good quality stuff made by amateurs, which I know goes against the grain for Andrew Keen, but it is actually good stuff for the most part, or they're good at filtering out the bad stuff. Maybe that's what they do.
What is it? But is it like Instagram, so you follow people and you get followed and all that stuff?
You don't follow people. Actually, what happened, you can find people, but what happens is they figure out what you like based on your flicks. And it just gives you an endless stream of stuff that you're likely to like. My wife, who is not prone to this, can spend 1 or 2 hours on it because it's sufficiently engaging. And she's an English lit major, so it's not low life. It's genuinely.
So why aren't we broadcasting on TikTok?
You can't.
Is it real time?
It's not real time. It's pre-built. It's on demand, pre-built, and they give you all the tools to pre-build a video. It really is extremely well done, and it's become addictive, and it's grown very, very big. They've spent close to just over $1 billion, mainly on Facebook ads, getting an audience. So they've been a big spender in the US. And by the way, because it's a consumer app, the data that they take out of it is not that useful to a foreign power.
Well, who owns it? I mean, is it privately owned in China?
It's owned by a parent company called ByteDance. They're not the only shareholder, but they're the major shareholder. And Microsoft is doing a deal with ByteDance to buy out whatever they end up buying. I think they're still negotiating exactly what they're going to buy. The Chinese version, by the way, is a totally different app, and the data between the two is not mixed. So TikTok data doesn't go to China.
You mean American TikTok data?
Yeah, well, TikTok is basically American. It's Western anyway. So
it doesn't exist in China?
No. ByteDance has an app that is very like it, that does the same thing, but it's a different app with different data centers and so on. This about me, but maybe listeners don't. I've got a long history of doing business in China. I actually did, back in 2000, I did a contract with the Chinese government for Chinese language keywords pointing to URLs using my real name's company technology. And, the core of that deal was that we had to put servers in China. And that's a standard part of Chinese way of looking at things. They're paranoid about being cut off from the rest of the world. So they always want servers in China so that if they get cut off, it can still work. So there's both good and bad reasons for them wanting that.
Okay, so the story so far is that the Chinese developed an app, a video sharing, some sort of video sharing, short form video sharing app that's popular in the US. Well, why does Trump want to shut it down?
Well, he wants to shut WeChat down as well, remember. He just extended it to WeChat, which in China is called Weixin. It's the same app. So this week, I got asked on my WeChat to put my name, address, upload my passport. And that's because WeChat has a payment system, and KYC and anti-money laundering. KYC is Know Your Customer. Anti-money laundering, AML, requires the Bank of China to not let WeChat do payments unless they know the customer. So Trump reacted to WeChat asking for the Americans to show their passport and their information, which, by the way, you have to do if you get a Citibank account or you want to do payments on PayPal. So it's just the same. He's now extended the ban to WeChat. And so this is a general balkanization of the internet that Trump is now on board with. He's basically saying America is sovereign and you can't ask my citizens to do anything. Now, the irony...
Why is he doing that? Did he have a bad Chinese meal or something?
Well, we all know about the broader context, right? There's a trade war with China, and he's trying to leverage everything he can get into deal points in his discussions with them. He's squeezed Huawei for a long time. I almost called my newsletter this week Wow, W-O-W, Way, W-E-I-G-H, but I ended up calling it Tick-Tock instead.
Very original.
So you've got Huawei, Tick-Tock, and Weixin or WeChat. So this is an American-led, or most of us Americans won't agree with it. So it's a Trump-led.
But I'm not American. So.
Assault on.
Are you American, Keith?
I actually am American. Yeah.
Don't look it. Okay, so I mean, this.
I don't know what to say.
This is ridiculous. So he's banning Chinese-owned apps in the US and saying that it can continue if they sell it to an American company, which isn't really American like Microsoft, which is a multinational company.
Well, and there's also an asset seizure component of that, because he's also saying if Microsoft do buy it, the sellers should pay the US government money, which I don't know what the logic behind that is, unless they pay tax in America, in which case they will pay money. But other than that, there's no reason why that should happen. So this is really nationalism and globalism clashing. The internet is inherently global, as we know. The whole point of it
isn't in China, isn't in Russia, isn't in Iran. It isn't really in America. It isn't in Europe either. I mean,
actually, even I've been in China a lot. Anyone savvy can make the internet global. You just have to use tunnels and VPNs, but it's completely doable.
Well, there's a lot of things doable, but most people, firstly, it's illegal, and secondly, most people aren't going to do it.
They do it. If you look at the BBC iPlayer streams going into China because of VPNs, you'd be shocked. So it's the internet is. I mean, it's an interesting point, Andrew. The internet is not really controllable by nation states. Truly, individual citizens have the tools to do an end around governments and do it all the time. And Bitcoin being one of the more recent examples of that, where money is involved. And that is likely to continue and get more and more significant. At the same time, Silicon Valley is no longer the center of the world. Lots of money is going into startups that start outside of Silicon Valley and outside the US. Some of them become global fast, like Skype did out of Estonia. So it's been happening for a long time. We can anticipate that in the future, most things people want to use could come from anywhere. And so the idea that a national government can get involved A, is foolish, and B, it goes
But let's
against.
go back to Trump. I mean, it's almost mid-August 2020. The chances are he's got 2 or 3 months left. He's clearly, a charlatan and a clown. I mean, is this just some sort of symbolically and typically shambolic Trump move to take people's minds off other more important things like the hundreds of thousands of people dying from a virus that he didn't confront properly? I mean, really, is this just Trump again pulling the strings of Twitter and Facebook and the rest of media? Because it just seems absurd.
Well, it definitely is that as well, but he's chosen this for a reason. All leaders look for an enemy, right? In politics, the biggest problem with the end of the Cold War was Russia couldn't be an enemy anymore, so they had to find new ones, and that's how Iraq came into the frame. So you always need an enemy. Biden is a poor enemy choice because he's winning.
Is Biden on TikTok?
I doubt it, but I don't know. Good question. Let's find out.
So all you're China obsessed this week, Keith. You're just like Donald Trump, and lots of interesting articles. One from the FT about why Silicon Valley isn't getting this new Cold War with China, and there's this wonderful quote. I wrote it down somewhere that investors, I guess in Silicon Valley, this is what the FT piece says, investors are partying like it's 1999. So we're back in 1999 in terms of the insanity of the market. And are we going to see the crash being driven by a genuine economic Cold War, do you think?
I do think that the FT is being a bit flip when it says that. It is the case that investors have been having a good time. Let's be honest. Most of the earnings,
making a lot of money anyway. I don't think it's a good time. Yeah.
They're making a lot of money. Is that red wine or Coke, Andrew?
Am I allowed to advertise on your show? Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
Made in the US, not in China, by the way.
I don't think investors are partying at all. I think there is a new set of opportunities for investors. Did you notice this company called RunTheWorld.today? Probably no one's heard of RunTheWorld.today.
You told me about that, but let's focus.
But wait.
Okay,
no, but wait. It has Chinese founders, 2 of them, young.
American Chinese or Chinese?
Chinese. And they're here in Silicon Valley, by the way, because they were students at Stanford. And Andreessen Horowitz, I can't remember the exact figure, but I'll tell you what, it's roughly $20 million through 2 rounds has gone into it. So more than went into Clubhouse. And RoundTheWorld.today is a digital platform for any event type. They have hundreds of them. Same week, Li Autos, which is one of 2 Tesla competitors in China, listed on the NASDAQ, raised $1.1 billion from American investors to compete with Tesla in China, with factories in China. So this world, people are partying, and they're partying globally, and they're embracing Chinese originated technology. China has a plan by 2025 to be as technically, in terms of the value of tech, to be equal to the US. And they're going to get and they're going to get there. So the FT's main point is America's right to be concerned, but there's nothing it can do about it.
So Trump is really a sort of digital, well, not a digital version. Trump is a 21st century version of King Canute, and the C is the Chinese. Was it the digital threat or the broader economic threat, do you think?
Well, the broader economic threat is a given, right? It's inevitable that China...
Threat, I use that. I don't mean to sound like an American nationalist. Threat is just Chinese competition.
Yeah. You and me, because you and me are Brits, it's easy for us to understand. If you think of the world economy as a pie chart, and America has a slice, China has a slice, Britain has a slice. Now, if you go back in history and roll it forward, the size of the slices changes. And the British slice used to be the biggest. Then the American slice was the biggest. Everyone knows the Chinese slice is going to be the biggest, right? I mean,
Yeah.
big shock. Well, America needs to adjust to competing in a world where there's a bigger economy than it. That's fine. Britain did that okay over decades. You can do it. No panic. Trump's panicking. He's kind of trying to slow down or control the outcome. He probably can slow it down, by the way. So he's not stupid. He probably can slow it down.
He can't slow down. I mean, in 3 months, he might be able to if he's re-elected, which hopefully he isn't. And what about Microsoft buying TikTok? It sounds I just made a joke on Twitter saying, what's the best way to kill TikTok? It's by Microsoft buying them. I mean, it's probably not funny to the Microsoft people, but why the hell would Microsoft, firstly, why would they buy a consumer entertainment app? And secondly, everything they touch on the consumer side dies. Look what they did to Skype. So what is going on there? What are they up to?
It's a massively valuable advertising platform, and Microsoft abandoned having a play in consumer mobile before it even had a play. So Microsoft has done, by the way, they've done a fantastic job in enterprise. They've done a fantastic job in the cloud with Azure, which I wouldn't have thought could get to where.
Yeah, that's obvious. And then their market value is doing very well. And the new
Their
CEO
market value is
clearly
doing
knows
well.
what he's doing. I mean, especially compared to the previous person.
Right.
But
so
why would, I mean, it just seems like this is going back to the insanity of the Ballmer age of Microsoft just buying stuff because it's in the news.
I think if I was Microsoft, by the way, there's two failures in consumer internet. One is Microsoft, the other is Google.
Yeah.
If you look at Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp as a kind of an agglomeration, and then Twitter as a smaller version of all that, and then Snap as an even smaller version, Microsoft and Google don't have a play with especially young consumers, but with consumers at all, really. So TikTok, pricey as it is, remember WhatsApp cost $19 billion, but it saved Facebook's life because it made Facebook a valuable mobile chat platform. If Microsoft or Google, which I'm not sure if Google are even looking at it, but they should be if they're not, had to pay double-digit billions for this, probably more than 19. It is not a bad investment given how big it is and the money they could make from owning it. So
you missed a trick. Yeah, you missed a trick this week in terms of headlines, Keith. The Economist had the cover story on Google in middle age, sort of joking a bit. But so maybe the story is not about TikTok or even Microsoft, but about Google. Maybe we can talk about that next week.
That would be a good thing to talk about because Google earnings dropped 10% this last quarter for the first time ever.
Yeah. So so very briefly, because I don't want to spend the whole time talking about TikTok or China. What do you expect to happen? I mean, Trump is always all bluff. I mean, he changes the subject, he messes us around. So the chances of this being in the news next week are fairly unlikely. He'll have moved on to something else.
Well, let's imagine we were the board of directors of ByteDance because they're the ones who have to make the decision.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sell. I would tough it out. I would call Trump's bluff. I would let him ban it, but he won't be able to.
Yeah.
And I would take the risk of a short-term decline in value due to whatever hit that involves. And I, as a Chinese-centered investor, would. I'm sure TikTok's getting more downloads than ever because of all the PR. I would just go for it. Now, what will actually happen is they'll probably chicken out and take money off the table because it's a lot of money and move on to the next thing. But there will be a next thing.
Who will chicken out?
ByteDance.
And they'll sell.
They'll sell, they'll take the money, and then they'll...
So you think it'll go for about 20 bill, 25 bill?
I'm guessing, well, it depends what they buy. That's one of the things in the newsletter.
Yeah.
How much it's worth, it depends what they buy. If they buy it worldwide outright, it'll go for more than that.
And then just very briefly, what the business model then is advertising.
The business model is brand promotion, yeah, of various kinds. Brands love it.
Are there still any brands? I thought they all went away during the coronavirus crisis.
No, funnily enough, they didn't. I mean, Facebook's revenues were up 10% quarter over quarter.
Yeah. Facebook should buy it, although I don't think that would get a good reception in Washington, D.C., would it?
Zuckerberg is China friendly, which I think is the right thing, by the way. Going all the way back to Nixon, the right strategy for any one American is to be China friendly.
I mean, it would sit well within Facebook. It's its natural home, sounds like. Nice brother, nice new brother or sister to Instagram and the rest of the family, right?
Zuckerberg's first action was to launch Instagram Reels this week, which is their competitor, and it won't work, as we know. So
and what are the chances of this time next year Tick-Tock being just a sort of an internet version of Beirut, totally in ruins? Just no one's going there anymore.
Not going to happen.
So it's for real. It's a real product.
It's a real product. People love it, and it's good. They did a good job.
Okay, so you dropped earlier the fact that as you, the consummate Silicon Valley insider, you got an invite to Clubhouse. I haven't got the invite. I'm sure most of our audience doesn't. What was it like? You had the chance to see the latest made in Silicon Valley sensation.
I did get an invite, thanks to Dave Weiner, actually, the guy who was...
He still exists, Dave Weiner.
Oh, he's got one of the best minds around when it comes to this stuff. And he got into Clubhouse, tweeted as such. And I went and applied using his name as a friend. And they let me in within 24 hours. I was amazed. And
so I can name drop you and maybe I'll get in. So what was it like?
Well, it's very interesting. It's like a live event. It's organized into a stage and an audience. And anyone can go on the stage, but the moderator starts on the stage. It's audio only, but with a visual representation of the room. It's very good quality audio. And it's like sitting in a seminar or a conference with questions, with people going on stage to make points. The moderator can call people on stage and ask them to speak. It's topic specific, so you join a meeting about something. Josh Constine, who used to be at TechCrunch, I joined his one yesterday, and it's
so
if you think
it would be a good score. I mean, in the coronavirus, in the age of the coronavirus, it would be an ideal platform for education. It sounds like
it would be very good for education, although it's not good at sharing materials. So there's better platforms for that. It's kind of what we are to a video blog, it is to a podcast. We're doing this live. We're currently on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter live, and we're on the That Was the Week website live. So a podcast, normally you listen to it from iTunes or Spotify, but Clubhouse is live. So it's like a live audio event.
And where they get there, but it's internal. It's cut off from the rest of the world, so it's walled. It's a walled garden.
It is to audio what Facebook is to the internet. It's a separate environment, but
why aren't they opening it up for everyone then? Why? I mean, the whole thing is to get members. Why are they stopping people joining to create buzz?
It's probably technology and scaling combined with buzz. When I joined, I was immediately followed by 5 people who I know really well, and I could follow about 50 people who I know really well. So that reminds me of when I first joined Twitter, when it was a kind of an in crowd. Not that they're better than anyone else.
Well, as soon as this call's finished, I am going to join. I'm trying to join. They probably won't let me.
If they let you join, Andrew, we can do That Was the Week on Clubhouse as well.
Nice. Okay, well, let's end, Keith, on your tweet of the week. I love this bit of the show. It's always my favorite bit. What's your tweet of the week this week?
The tweet of the week this week is Jason Calacanis. We got to do.
And we all know him. I don't think he needs any introduction.
Jason Calacanis, who is a great dad, by the way, and has a young family. In the midst of
these guys, the nastier these people are, the better parents. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that was definitely not true of my parents. My mum was nice and nice. My dad was nasty and nasty.
Well, you're actually nice and a good parent. I'm not a good parent, and I'm not very nice.
Oh, shame.